Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Swift Riders Germany Autumn Series. My name is Jesper Anker, and this may be the first time you're hearing of me here on Swift Community Live. Yes, so we have been broadcasting all these Australian races over the Australian winter, and now we're migrating over into the European winter, which is happening just about now. If you've looked outside your window, it can be quite cold in some places in Europe. So this is the Swift Riders Germany race. I'm proud to be one of the first people to be able to commentate on this, because I know from a good friend of mine and colleague at Swift, Kai Rapp, that it has such a good following, has got such a strong community of people who feel involved, who feel ready to race, who do the group rides, do the group workouts, and now we've got a 4-race series on our hands at the Swift Riders Germany Autumn Series. Today, we're doing the jungle circuit, one lap, which is roughly 20 kilometers. And with the speeds and the riders we're seeing today, we should see around 25 minutes of racing. Looking at the start list, I will admit, I see a bunch of new names, a bunch of names that I'm not too familiar with when it comes to Swift racing. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to pan out, because there's going to be some stable names in Swift racing. Like, I've seen Aaron Lux of Team One Love. I've seen Mike Davis of Team Experimental. They're in the mix. But then we're looking at guys like Ekman from Germany. We're looking at guys Maurice, IBC. I mean, they're people that I haven't really noticed yet on Swift, and that is exactly why we're going to be broadcasting more races here on Swift Community Live over the next few weeks, next few months, as we head into the winter season, which is the Swift season. So in 10 seconds, the race is going to get underway, and we'll go through a quick rundown of who we're seeing on the screen. I do have the chat open on my phone, so I can see all your messages. I can see Katrina Weiss is watching, Russ Crowder. I can see Swift Riders Germany is in the chat as well. So we do have the start given now in the A group. And as you can see in Swift racing, the start is always fast, it's always rapid. 8 watts per kilo from Kraft. Cunha, who is another stable in the Swift racing community, up to 8 watts per kilo. It's good to see all these riders out on course. I think we had a total of 85 to 90 riders signing up to do this race today. So now they're going to come down the pier, go over towards, so they're basically doing the majority of the flat course until they take that left-hand turn up the reverse Epic KOM, and then they hit right at the top of that, and they hit into the jungle, and they'll do one circuit where they'll finish with a sprint. It's going to be great to watch. So if you have any questions, if you're listening in, it's just you and me today. Usually, when I do the Australian broadcast, I have Wesley Salzberger or Pat Shaw or whoever else they're bringing on as a special guest to help talk me through the broadcast, to give some expert insight into the racing. Well, today, you are the expert opinion. You are the expert commentator. So if you are the likes of Jebba Tolbo, who's currently in the chat, feel free to, if you see anything, if you spot any trends, if you've got any questions to regard to what you're seeing on the screen, do fire away and I will come to it. I see John Roden is in the chat. I see Dan Dukes is in the chat. Yeb is asking, is there a schedule for future Swift Community Live covered races? I think that is in the works, Yeb, but I cannot whether confirm or deny that. But there should be plenty of races available here on Swift Community Live. I'm sure I've seen Swedish riders, Swedish Swift riders races are being thought of. I think I've seen the Hooligan tonight with Nathan Guerra. So there's definitely a few races to choose between if you want to race on Swift and have yourself broadcasted to the entirety of the Swift Community Live community, ironically. Currently, we have 33 people tuning in. Thank you very much. If you're racing right now, best of luck. If you're watching this and you're cheering on a friend, a loved one, or a clubmate, make sure to give them a ride on like I'm going to do to Sports for Life right now. They are suffering. It's real efforts. If you've never seen a Swift race before, well, you're in for quite a treat, because this is a real-life effort in a virtual environment. All these riders, Mr. Schenkel from Germany, they're on their bikes. They've got their bike hooked up to a turbo trainer, which can either be smart or it can be a classic, meaning it can give you resistance, it can simulate gradients, it can even do, like some can do cobblestone simulations, which is so cool and so epic to see how the technology is progressing within this market. But they are pedaling, so the numbers you're seeing in the top left screen, is basically their bike computer, whether that's the Wahoo Bolt, the Garmin Edge, there's SRM, whatever else they have. So you can see they have the watts, 275, 265, 256 from Schenkel, updated in real time. He is spinning a cadence of 87, 88, so he looks like he's quite comfortable right now. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that evens out to about 3.5 watts per kilo. He is racing in the A category tonight, which means he is part of the elite on Zwift that have their FTP, their functional threshold power, above 4 watts per kilo. But you don't have to be the elite to race. We've got some B riders in here, Krebs, Hahn, Ekman in here as well. Let's give a ride on. So they have a lower FTP, meaning a lower power threshold. As you can see, Ekman's heart rate is at 192 already. That is definitely somebody who is working hard here in the Zwift Riders Germany race. We can see in the chat, we've also got Stefan Buschdog, who is saying Dankeschön, which my very limited German can translate to thank you very much. And we also got Matthias Thür. Welcome very much. Welcome big time to this broadcast. So the racing today is 20 kilometers in total. Top right hand of the screen, you can see the kilometer distance, which is right here. To the left, we've got the speed. They are trucking along at 48 kilometers an hour. If we go to the right hand side of the screen, you can see the altitude meters they've covered so far. A solid 4 meters of altitude. So you can tell it's either been downhill or flat. But that's about to change. And then on the right hand side as well, you can see the total time raced so far. 4 minutes down, equal to 3.3 kilometers. It's going to be a fast race tonight. So now they're coming out of the tunnel, and now you can expect some accelerations. On the right-hand side, keep an eye and look on this little column here that will go to orange numbers. So we're seeing M. Otto from Germany, kicking it up to 8 watts per kilo. Up in the top right-hand side of the corner, you can see the gradient. We're seeing 3% right now, so that resistance on the turbo trainer, whether that's a Wahoo Kicker, Tax Neo, Elite Diretto, it will simulate that you go uphill, so you're going to have to put in a bit of an effort. So if you've never seen Zwift racing before and you're wondering who are all these people on the right hand side, but they're actual real people. They're all verified. They've all signed up, make sure they're the right age, the right weight, etc. And they're racing, they're going. The results will then be saved on swiftpower.com, where they can see their palmarès, which is basically their results. And there's a really big racing community that's very easy to get into if you want to. All you gotta do is either download the Zwift companion app, get on it, and then select the race you want to do. Or when you open up Zwift, on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a bunch of different events you can do. Like, for example, if you don't want to race, in about an hour's time, there's a group ride that I'll be organizing that you can join. So you're more than free to either race or ride or join group rides. So now the peloton, 73-man big, has made a left-hand turn here at the Merle. They're going to head up to the Epic KOM, which you can see is that thing up in the distance. So they're going to go straight over this bridge, start to go up this, which is going to hurt. We're going to see our first selection of riders. A guy to keep an eye out for is Aaron Luxey, as he weighs about as much as a paperweight, which is equal to like 50 kilos. So the law of gravity means he's going to go faster with less watts, meaning everyone else is going to be left behind. We'll see how he tackles this climb, as we know he's one of the stronger climbers on Zwift. But this is where we're going to see the first selection of riders on this one-lap race of the Zwift Riders Germany Autumn Series. 4 races in total. I believe there are going to be points on offer at the end. Yet to be confirmed. You're going to have to be a member of the Zwift Riders Germany Facebook page to see that. So here we go. We see a featherweight being popped on the right by M. Race from Denmark. This power-up will make you lighter for X amount of time. So don't quote me on this, but I believe it's about 15 seconds where it makes you 1 watt per kilo lighter, or it makes you 1 watts per kilo faster, essentially. And that is just from pseudoscience of looking at the right-hand side of the screen when I pop that power up. So M-Race is leading the charge. Kraft is behind him. Den is behind him. Sports for Life is up there. Luxey, who I mentioned before, is just making up the tail end of this group now as he's trying to hang in there. We've already done a quarter of the racing already. 5 kilometers done of this 20 kilometers race. We can see R from UAE is up here. He's pushing out the power in the B category. We've got an acceleration now in the front, though. It is the Danes that are attacking the Germans. We're having history kind of flip itself on its head. We've got Dan and Race going on to the attack with Kraft trying to do his very best to get back onto him now. They're going to go over this hill, and then there's a bridge where it somewhat flattens out, and then there'll be a short another kick where you can make another separation, but I don't think we'll see that just yet. So Racing Den, Kraft, Damage, and Jensdruff from Rough Riders is up here. They've got their own kit on Swift, as you can see, as the ride-on comes in. Very well deserved. We're making up Damage from Swift Riders Germany, Aaron Lux, and then Schenkel and Cunha are just on the back as they try to make their way back to the front. Pollitt from France, Finger from Austria, Feste, Sports for Life. They're going to have to really dig deep now, because this is the point of the course where if you do not get back on, that's the last you've seen of the front of the race. You will not get back to the front. But it's going to be tough, and it's whether or not you know this. And I know some of the racers in here today, this is their first time listening to a race broadcast like this. It is essentially like race radio. It will give you different information you may not have had if you were just racing on your own. Like hearing that there's a group in the front now, 5 seconds up the road. If you are further back, if you're not in the second group, not in the third group, well, you're going to have to work for it. Eric Tremblay saying, good job. Thank you very much, Eric. Also got Jeppe Tolbo saying, the Dane is Mads Bang Andersen. Light beat rider in real life, a strong fellow. So, speaking of Danes, I've seen that Fusion have just made the first Danish esports team. Esports cycling team, nonetheless. A bit of news happening in the Swift world. It's quite interesting to see what they're doing with it. So far, our very own Jeppe Tolbo, good friend, is on that team. Klaus Nielsen is on that team. A bunch of strong Danes are on that team. And I think they're trying to take on a different approach to the whole esports cycling team, because right now it's based on more of a club atmosphere, but it looked like Fusion was trying to hit the race, hit the scene as a more of a team atmosphere, somewhat similar to Draft. It's very interesting to see that happening. But 44 people tuning in to watch the Swift Riders Germany race. Thank you so much for giving out all the support, not only to Swift Community Live, which we're here broadcasting on, but also to the racers. I am sure if we are Dan, if we're M Race, if we're Kraft, they will appreciate the fact that they're suffering. Like 182 from Dan, that sucks, that hurts. And they appreciate the fact that they're suffering. It's not just for nothing. Of course, you get a great workout out of it, but there's also someone else out there thinking, wow, he's got power, that guy. Yeah, I thought you liked that one. Yeah, but hey, also John Roden, big shout out. He's saying the breakaway is going to stick. Big shout out to being active in the chat tonight. Almost 7 kilometers done of racing, almost a third of the way through tonight's race. That is the first ascent they've done today. They're now going to hit the jungle circuit, where they're going to do a little dip and then going to come up again over that hanging bridge where you can attack, and then we're going to see most likely a reduced bunch sprint in the first Swift Riders Germany Autumn Series race. Really, really interesting to see. Like, it's a whole different environment, because these, like when you watch the KISS races, which are usually broadcasted with Glenn Knight being the organizer, or you watch the Friday Criterium or the Swedish Swift Riders races, they race every single week at the same time, but they're broadcasted. Like, they've been broadcasted by Nathan Guerra from the times of history, like from way back. So you know the main characters, you know the Kim Littles, the Tim Cartwrights, the David Allenbys, the Adam Webbs. Well, this is a totally new crowd of Germans. Like, these are names we're going to have to get used to now, and they're just as strong, if not stronger. We just haven't shined the spotlight on this pack of riders. We just haven't been able to stretch ourselves, or at least from my point of view, me being Jesper Anker, I haven't been able to really follow this racing scene before, and I'm really interested to see who, like, what sort of racing styles can we see? Who, like, are there new trends that are going to develop? Because Swift racing is so much more than just pure wattage. Like, if it was pure wattage, the strongest rider would win every single time. And that simply is just not the case if you've ever raced before. So I'm interested to see if there are certain Swift strategies that are used in Germany that aren't used in Australia, which I usually cover, or Britain or Denmark. So we'll see how they're going to take this on now. But there's a bit of a lull in the action now. They've all come together. It's a bit more relaxed, as we can see. It just having a quick drop out there. It should come back in just a second. I see, here we go. There's a bit of red over on the OBS mode. What's happening here? Come on, let's get back on. It's at 0 now. Come on, let's get back up. Here we go. I think it's back up now. If you can still hear me, keep staying in the chat, as I'll just get off the internet. So here we go. There's a move on the front. It looks like Kraft has gone to it. What is happening? Why is it not staying up? Come on. Come on. I can see it now. There we go. Now it should be back up. Quick drop in the action. I think it's back up. Sorry for the short interaction there. There seems to be Seems to be something wrong on my end with a bit of this. I will have to have a look at that eventually. There's been a reoccurring thing like that over the Australian winter. And I do apologize. We are reliant on the internet providers, and I'm Danish, but I live in the UK, and sometimes there are ups and downs. Okay, I think we are back online. So I do apologize for that inconvenience. That is totally on me. I see it working now. So now, halfway through the race, here we go. UAE has been having an interesting riding style with it going up and down, always up to 8 watts per kilo, then down to 4, up to 8. We're seeing the same thing with the finger now. He's going on to the attack from Austria. E-Pus Racing Team has gone on to the attack. Let's take a look at that kit. I think that is the Innsbruck Racing Kit, if I am not mistaken. Yes, it is. You unlock that by doing the UCI World Tour Challenge with Innsbruck. So he's gone on to the attack here. That might be the move. So damage is onto the move here. Kraft is popping his aero power up. Kraft is using an arrow to get back onto the wheel. That may not be the cleverest of moves. We've got Jendrush of Rough Riders who's following now. Aaron Locks at 7.5. Schenkel is on there as well. I see Sean Gray has joined into the chat. The group behind now is down 42 seconds, so I think it's safe to say they will not come back into this group. But the move from Kraft to use his aero power up, oh, and Den has been dropped. That is not good. He looked like one of the stronger riders, but Den from Denmark is 3 seconds back, and he's having to put in a massive effort right through the cloud. You can see there's a bunch of riders in front of him, but it basically obscures his vision. He cannot see how far up that group is ahead of him now as he's trying to get up to it. But on the right hand side, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. This is the blob effect. He lost the blob effect. He's out of it. He really has to dig deep now. This could be the Swift Riders Germany Autumn Race Series 1 over for Dennis. He's sitting at 192 beats per minute as he's trying to get back in, but that gap is going the right way. He might have the wattage, but he just lost the concentration for 1 second. Kraft is going to have to be kicking himself right now. The fact he used his aero power up, he would have wanted to keep that for the end. That's going to be the decisive deal breaker for the very end. If there comes a sprint, if there is a moment where there's going to be a sprint, that power up is going to be all decisive. And now everyone else knows he doesn't have one. He popped it, trying to go on to the attack with finger, but it did not work out. We can see Dan is now 17, 18 seconds back. It is not good for him now. Cunha is up here, 3.6 watts per kilo. Schengel is here, Jendrush is here, Race is here, Damage is here, Pullet is here. In the chat right now, everybody, we've got 8 kilometers of racing left, 8 and a bit. I want you to make a prediction. Out of all these riders who've made the front group in our inaugural race here in the Swift Riders Germany race, who is going to take the win? We got Adrian Rossa saying, go, 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 Sven. And I assume that is Sven Kraft, who you are cheering on. So we'll give him a ride on. He's sitting at 181 beats per minute. After his attack, he's got a Tron bike, which means he's been racing Swift for quite a lot. So, Jesper Fulford says, Jesper, can my sister's goldfish get a shout out? His name is Henry. Well, Henry, you rock. Thanks for tuning in. Now, what's going to happen now? Because everyone knows there's not really another hill happening. There's a slight incline, but it's not as steep as the reverse KOM. So we're going to see what's going to happen now as they hit this incline. Someone will give it a go. And seeing the group is roughly going to the back, it's a roughly 8-man big. Something could happen. Someone could go. 8-man big. I mean, if somebody manages to get off the front with just one more rider, we see this in the Australian races sometimes when Zach Rogers. Oh, I switched into the wrong mode. That is totally the wrong Zach. When Zach Johnson, that is the correct Zach. When Zach Johnson goes onto the attack and a Kim Little gets on the wheel or a Cameron Roberts, definitely not a Zach Rogers. I mean, that would be a sight for sore eyes. Where is that man gone? That was a total brain fart. I do apologize. 7.3 kilometers left now. And they're just looking at each other. They're just resting up. There's so much on the line for them now as they know they're being broadcasted across Facebook. They know their name will be written in the stars of swiftpower.com. Whoever crosses that line first will take it. Aaron Lux is sitting in the back. He's using the wheels. He's drafting. We got a bunch of Tron bikes over to the right. And then we have Cervelos. We're zooming in on Schenkel right now from Germany as he's sitting in. He hasn't really done much yet so far. Maybe maybe he's going to be one of the guys to attack. They're now in the middle. They're in the bottom of this valley as they're about to come out on the other end, hit over the bridge, and then come near the sprint finish. We got Christoph Jendrus saying, "Go, go, go, Thomas Jendrus." And I do apologize that my German pronunciation isn't up to par. In Denmark, we do get taught German, but probably should have paid better attention. Hindsight is 2020. Sven Kraft on the front with Cunha. Let's see. Now you can see in the top right-hand corner, this is the gradient they're going to have to go up now. It's a slight drag all the way to the top, and then we got the finish right about around here. So it's definitely a prolonged effort where you're going to have to pay attention. There's not a moment from now on to the end where you can really rest up. As soon as that gradient starts to go positive, go up to the 2s, the 3s, which it is doing now, you need to be looking around. You need to be attentive. You need to be making sure you're on the right wheel, and as soon as somebody attacks, you can see the watts are already coming up now with the resistance changing, the gradient changing. I mean, we're seeing 4.7 watts per kilo. We're seeing 9 from UAE on a constant basis. Jendrus is sitting at 4. Oh, Stefan Bushdunk is also in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to tell a friend, tell a family member. We're going to be doing this every week, I believe. That is at least the plan, I believe. So next Tuesday, we'll also be covering this race again. So sign up, get racing, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell club members. We want to grow this community and shine a spotlight on just how great and how interactive and the experience you can get when you're in a race like this. It's basically like being a pro for a day, basically. So it's quite big and can be quite a fun experience, speaking from personal experience. M-Ray sitting at the front, 5 watts per kilo. The gradient's at 3, it's at 4. Who is it gonna be? Everyone looking around. Still 5.5 kilometers left. 19 minutes of racing done now. Oh, at this point, I mean, they've been saving up energy now. They've been somewhat rested after the first few attacks. The riders have been dropped, and then after that, there hasn't been a big attack after Søren Kraft used his aero power-up. They've done 150 meters of elevation, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play this one out, because I'm not too sure who's the better sprinter of this bunch. I'm not too sure if there's somebody here who's got the engine to attack away and stay on the power, because even if you get that gap on Swift, as you saw with Den, once you're out of the draft, it's so much more difficult. You have to put down so much more power in order to stay away, and that works on the back, but that also works on the front. So if you do manage to do that gap, solidify an attack off the front, you're going to have to sustain at least a watt and a 1.5 watts per kilo higher than the peloton chasing on behind, because the algorithm just seems to favor that group when it comes to flattish terrain. But speaking of flattish terrain, we're not really on flattish terrain. As you can see in the top right-hand corner, we're still at 4%, 5% now as it's kicking back up. We've got Aaron Lux now hitting the front with Ray's reacting to it. Aaron Lux is sitting at 6.4. This is doing a Peter Sagan at Paris-Roubaix, just slowly at the front, and suddenly he just goes up to that extra gear, 6, 7 watts per kilo. And he's trying to make everyone else hurt now. And I know One Love has the motto that you have to dig deep if you're racing, give it everything, or at least that may not be the direct motto, but I know that in spirit, it basically means when you race hard, and I'm sure we'll see Aaron Lux with either a sprint at a certain point or an attack to try and break up this group. Yebetolba says, how can a kid from Sonneborn not understand German? Kids nowadays. Hey, I understand German. I just can't speak it. I've even had a... Yeah. We got an attack off the front now from Race. Race with 4.5 kilometers to go has gone on to the attack at 6.5 watts per kilo. Cunha from Portugal is the first one to react to it. Sven Kraft damage. Now everyone is starting to get nervous. Now everyone is starting to get twitchy and jumpy as we're getting near that finish line. They can see the top. Who's going to make a move for it now? It is Aaron Lux who's sitting in the wheel with M. Race still in the front. Cunha has nullified that attack. Kraft and Damage and Schenkel. Are the Germans going to work together? Are they going to try and have that bit of internationality cooperation? Here we go. This is the bridge. This is the wooden bridge. They go over, they go down. This is where you can launch yourself. This is where you can ramp it if you come from the back, accelerate over the top, and you can break it up. Only 4 kilometers left now. Who is it going to be? I see Mike Russell is also in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. 10 watts per kilo from Schenkel, 11 watts from Kraft. M-Race is sitting comfortably in the middle at 6 with a heart rate of 184. So that was the bridge. Now 3.5 kilometers to go. A move had been made before, but was nullified. Although it was a great attack to try and spice things up and try and catch somebody off guard, but everyone is just too experienced. Everyone is too, like, to get to this point of the race, you will have had to have done a race at another point. You will have to have been in another Swift race, because you know when to be ready, when to up the power, what moves to react to, what moves to sit and let everyone else close the gap. So we're seeing a bunch of experienced riders in here right now, showing you just how it is to race a Swift race. 3 kilometers left now. 23 minutes of racing done. 200 meters of altitude climbed so far. Who is going to be the inaugural winner? We saw a bit of love for Jendrus. We saw a bit of love for Aaron Luxey of One Love. It looks like it's going to come down to a sprint, and we know Sven Kraft does not have that aero power up, so I would almost consider him out of the equation. And I know that's controversial, but missing that crucial power up can really be detrimental when it comes to that finishing sprint. It's a very difficult sprint. If you haven't raced the jungle circuit before, I have done it twice, I believe, and the sprint finish is somewhat downhill. His finger goes on to another attack. It's that Innsbruck kit. He's trying to show it off, but the attack just isn't powerful enough. You can see Sven is sitting at 4.5 watts per kilo, and he's in the draft as Finger's trying again and again and again, and the heart rate's going up. This time it's UAE who's closing it down with Cunha and Kraft. And on this segment, on this piece of course, it's just so difficult to get away, and at least Finger's trying, and we'll give him some love, because that is the sort of spirit, that is the sort of tenacity we want to see in our races here in Swift Community Live. We want to see riders trying to give it everything, so we're going to give him a ride on to see if we can encourage him to do another attack. But as I was going on about before, this finish is somewhat downhill. Now it's downhill all the way to the finish right there now. It's tough. It's fast. You got to be in the right gear. You got to make sure not to spin out. You have to know that you can use your aero power up from further out, because it's downhill, meaning your speed is higher. It's at 61 kilometers an hour now, as Finger's sitting at the back trying to recover from his attack. This might be the moment you go on to the counter attack. Somebody who's just attacked, suffering at the back, you look around, you spot it, and then you attack yourself over the top. That is how you usually play it outside on the road. We don't see it so often on Swift. Roughly 2 kilometers of racing left. You can see this is the finishing straight. This is right here, I believe. This is where it is. They're going to come down it, and then they're going to sprint for the victory in tonight's Swift Riders Germany race in the Autumn Series. 1 of 4 weeks of this, a whole month of high-level German-based racing. Who's going to be the king of Germany, or is it going to be someone from the outside invading Germany and taking home that crown? Finger once again going to the front, doing 5.4 watts per kilo from Austria. He's really trying to set it up for somebody. He must have a teammate in here or something, because this sort of racing doesn't quite make sense as he keeps going to the front and then suffering and dying and tiring himself out. He must either have a teammate in here that we don't know about, or he may just not have a sprint on him and try again to break it up. But kilometer to go now. They can see the finishing straight. Here they go. They're going to turn left soon. Who is it gonna be? Who's gonna take the first win? They're gonna turn left, and then we're gonna be on the final kilometer of race. And you can see up in the top right hand corner the finishing straight. The finish is right there at the banner at the back of the group. Very experienced as he might be, Aaron Lux is sitting at 4 watts per kilo. I'm sure he's got a power up. Jendrus is in there as well. UAE once again is going up. Fingers sitting in the middle. Damitz is in here. Jendrus, who is it gonna be? They're inside. Now is the time to take it up slowly. You want to move to the front. You want to sit third. You want to sit fourth wheel. Who is it going to be? An aero power up is being popped on the left. It is Cunha. One of the experienced raiders is taking it up 12 watts per kilo, but it's roughly 400 meters out. It's a long one. Who is going to go for it? It's Race. It's Kraft, but we know Kraft doesn't have the aero power up. You can see the banner in the top right-hand corner. I think Cunha has timed this to perfection with his aero power up. Cunha from Portugal is going to take the inaugural victory in the Swift Riders Germany Autumn Series. But who's going to take second place? Is it going to be Kraft? Is it going to be Race? It's going to be Shingle who might come through and take it with 14 watts per kilo as he takes second place, and Jendrus in third place with Aaron Lux in fourth. Ladies and gentlemen, that was your Swift Riders Germany race. It was a German 1, actually it was a German 2 and 3 with Cunha taking home the first place. Great racing all around. Really awesome racing. Thank you so much for tuning in here in Swift Community Live. I hope you enjoyed that. We will be back again later on tonight with more racing, led by my co-commentator and friend, Nathan Guerra.